Welcome to another video on the Coach Turf podcast. I'm Coach Daniel Northeast. That's Daniel Northeast for short. And got my England top on because we're going to be talking about the World Cup 2026, obviously. And we're talking to Colin Reid. Hi, Colin.
Hi, Daniel. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Really, really good. England won yesterday, so fantastic. How are you feeling after that game?
Yeah, well, a bit relieved, to be honest. Obviously, we'll talk about that in a minute, but at the end of the day, we got 3 points, which is what it's all about when you play tournament football. I know we're still in the early stages, but like I say, it just takes the pressure off when you can get those 3 points on the board against probably the second best team in the group.
Definitely, definitely. And as you said, we're going to be talking about that a bit later on in this episode. But first, perhaps we could talk a little bit about some of the games that happened since our last recording, which was on Sunday. Time of recording today, so I think it was Thursday, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, what can you say about some of those games that happened since Sunday?
Well, I think there's been some good games. There's been some good performances in general. There's been lots of goals. And then, there's been a couple of surprises. So for me, obviously, I think when we last spoke, Germany were about to play, and Germany were playing Curacao. I can't even say it. I learnt that there was an island in the West Indies or the Caribbean somewhere. So, that was a bit of a shock to me. But yeah, Germany were very, very good in that. And I think they had a comprehensive win. But I don't think you can read too much into that. But like we said, Germany are no thrills, very well organised, very well disciplined, with some very good individuals. But like I say, the most important thing for the German is the effort of the team. It's always about the team. You end up in some countries just talking about individuals. But for me, can't tell too much from the Germans, but we always know they're going to go on, hopefully. But like you said, a couple of tournaments ago, they was knocked out in the league stages, but they're obviously going to progress, and I think that win would guarantee them to go through, even if it was in third place. But I expect them to go through as winners. So, yep, good Germany. For me, very good, solid performance, and knocking up a few goals on the way. But after that, we looked at the French. The French beat Senegal 3-1. And yeah, to be honest, the French look very, very good. Senegal actually beat them in the last World Cup, apparently. I think it was in the opening game. So, again, France looked good. I don't think you can sell too much at too sort of many things in these early stages. But like I say, to always get off to a win and not look under pressure is always a good start. So, what were your thoughts on Germany and France?
Yeah, I mean, I expected Germany to win like they did. I think I even mentioned it. That was either going to be one of those games where it could be a high score, or possibly Germany could have a bad day at the office. But if they had a bad day at the office, that's all it would have been. No, but no, it turned out to be a scoreline that I was expecting. And as for France, well, as I mentioned in the first video that we recorded on this, of course, I want England to win the tournament, but I do think that um, if we don't, then I think France will, and I think France are actually my favourites to win it. And I will add in this video because for some reason I completely blanked me when I was making my prediction of goal, the top goal scorer. I mean, if France have a good tournament, it's surely not going to. I mentioned Dembele, which he's been good, but for whatever reason I completely blanked Mbappe, which is I have no idea why. But no, if France end up winning it, you do expect some more goals from Mbappe. He got two in the first game, so yeah, I mean, I'm not too surprised. Senegal though are a good side. They did make a match. There was a match of it, so it wasn't like just one team. They got some good players, and I expect Senegal to really fight in the next games as well. But no, I mean, it was what I expected really from especially from the Germany game. But there's one game that I thought I'd ask you about the Netherlands and Japan.
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, what a great game that was. Well, great game, and like I've said, outsiders. Japan for me, and the way they played was fantastic. You know, they, if I remember rightly, Japan played a 3-4-2-1, 3-4-3, with the two players up top, out the three playing sort of behind the front player, and they play narrow. So that, as a system and a formation, gives you problems. And I think for me, they showed great energy, very, very well organised, very good technically as a side. And like we said, the Dutch, the Netherlands can be inconsistent, but I think on that night they were very good. So for me, that was probably one of the better games of the tournament so far. So yeah, I think both teams will look to go deep into the tournament, and I think Japan will represent Asia in a good way. And you know, I think they'll be the best team. Um, and over the years, I've seen them develop over the last sort of, oh, what's it got to be now? 20 years. 2002. Yeah, they've certainly gone the right way, and they've got lots of their players playing in different countries. I think the A League in Japan is not a bad league to bed and get young players playing out there, but I think the better players then obviously go to play in Europe. So yeah, for me, great game. But going on to that next game, which was a little bit of a shock, probably the biggest shock so far, was Spain's draw with Cape Verde. 0-0, unbelievable. Because, like I said, I've tipped Spain to go on. I don't think it's going to be a massive problem, but in terms of, you know, picking a price on 0-0, getting a draw, and no goals in that game, you know, knowing that some people and pundits over here had picked that out to be like a 7-8-0 game. And Cape Verde did themselves absolutely fantastic, and the goalkeeper, without doubt, was sort of a hero that night. He's made, I don't know, 7 or 8 absolutely, I wouldn't say welded, but fantastic saves, and he's put himself on the map. And I believe he's 40 years old, so that gives me hope. I hope when I'm 40, that I might still be playing. But no, seriously, it was a great advert for football and the underdog getting a result. So yeah, what was your thoughts on that Spain Cape Verde game?
Good for football. Definitely good for football when these kind of results happen. Um, but you know, it's the first game. It's the first game, and certain teams, you know, certain things can happen that they don't happen. You know, they just don't click. You know, I expect Spain to qualify from the group and have a good tournament. As for Cape Verde, well, you never know. I mean, football's football. If they were to progress from the group, it would be unbelievable for them. You know, they've had. I mean, this is a major success for them. You know, I mean, to get a point in a game against Spain. I mean, you know, if I was in that dressing room, I'd be going, "Wow, you know, how have we done this?" You know, but I think basically how they done that, they played football. Maybe they got lucky a few times. You mentioned some saves as well from the goalkeeper. But that's what you got a goalkeeper there for. You know, it doesn't matter how old you are; it's how capable you are. And obviously, you know, he's proven that he's capable still to pull off great saves. You know, age is just a number really. So good for him, good for them, and yeah, it was a good. I think that's a good advert for football as well. That just shows you that anyone can get a good result against anyone. Uh, there is one game that I wanted to also ask you about: Sweden Tunisia,
Yeah,
5-1 Tunisia. What are your thoughts around that?
yeah, I didn't actually watch that, but you know, Graham Potter's in charge of Sweden, and like the other team I've just mentioned in Norway, they're a physical. They've got a physical presence. Sweden. They can play, or they have had a reputation in the past of going back to front and being quite direct. I think Graham Potter will change that, and he obviously has changed that. Again, I didn't see the game, but I saw the highlights, and then you've got to say what a great start that is. And he's very level headed, is Graham Potter, so he won't let his players get carried away, which is great. And again, just looking at that other result, and you look at Norway, Norway looking good, beating Iraq 4-1. And like you said, they was your outsiders for the tournament that you think that they could go deep into it, and only time will tell. But I looked at Norway. I saw that Haaland scored 2 goals, which obviously is fantastic for him. And to get off to a good start, it gets that momentum. So when you go into your second game, you've got obviously the confidence to go and really attack that second game. And just going back to Spain, I feel a little bit sorry for Saudi Arabia that will be playing Spain on Sunday. Although Saudi Arabia did get a really good point when they played Uruguay. So they'll go into that game against Spain certainly not fearing them. And if you can get a point against Uruguay, who knows? So, yeah, some very good games to come at the weekend. But like you say, Spain's result was probably the biggest shock of the tournament so far, and Norway and Sweden both winning 4 and 5-1 respectively gives them sort of hope and can go into their second games with confidence.
I definitely agree with you there. Yeah, but also what this tournament has also shown us from these first games is that some of those top world class strikers, goal scorers, they've got themselves some goals. You got the Haaland, you got we'll talk about England, so Harry Kane. You got Messi getting hat trick, I believe, for Argentina. You got these top players getting goals, Mbappe for France, and this is something that I think we like to see. I think we like to see them. Of course, it's nice to see somebody who you don't expect to get quite a lot of goals. But yeah, it's really really good for football that the goals are flying in, because that's what fans want to see. They want to see goals. They want to see good football. Um, Maybe another one that maybe could have been different for this country was the 1-1 for Portugal. I think they'll be disappointed that that wasn't a win. But
Yeah,
they came up against, I think, a stubborn Congo side at
yeah.
times. Very lively team. But I expect Portugal to, address a few things during these few days that they've got before their next game, and I do expect a more confident. Maybe it's confidence. Maybe something didn't click for them on the night. So, what were your thoughts around Portugal?
Well, they started off really well. They scored a goal. I think it was an early goal, 6th or 7th minute, as I recall. And I thought, here we go. This is going to be one of them 2, 3, possibly 4 goals. But like you say, Congo done very well. And to be fair, there's been speculation or talk around Cristiano Ronaldo, and is he a help or a hindrance to the team? And people were saying about leaving him out, but they're saying is they don't think that Martinez would be brave enough to leave him out. So he's lost that. What do we say? That ability to, I think he had a couple of half chances that he never took. But like I say, you've got to be really careful when do you play him because he is doing the job, or do you play him because there's a little bit of, well, we've got a lot of respect for him, what he's done for Portugal. The fans still love him. So I think big decisions are going to be needed to be made over whether he sort of starts and comes off or doesn't start and then goes on. So, yeah, watch this space. That'd be interesting. So, Portugal didn't do as well as what they should do. But generally, like you say, it's not how you start, it's how you finish the group. And as long as you get through, and knowing that 8 third place teams will get through, then they're going to go through. But now the thing that I'm looking forward to speaking about, and that was the England game last night, which ended up in a 4-2 win and gets us off on you know, on the front foot, and hopefully we can take that confidence into our second game when we play next Tuesday against Ghana. So, and knowing that Ghana beat Panama 1-0, I think whoever wins that will win the group. So certainly no pushover, and we'll have to treat them with the utmost respect, but obviously not fear them. And we'll be going into the game with, a huge amount of confidence.
Yeah, I think confidence can be there. I mean, I want, I said before the game, before England played Croatia, that I hope it's going to be a confident, a gutsy performance. I wanted, a brave performance from England, and I think that's what we got. I think we did get that. Um, I know we conceded a couple of goals there, but on the flip side, we scored four, and that's okay in that situation. It's okay to concede a few as long as you get that one goal more than the opposition, because
Yep.
you want to win the game. But of course, you want to get as tight as you can at the back. So maybe that's something that they'll look at, before the next game. But no, I think we can be I think we can be confident after this result, after this performance. I know he didn't get a goal, but I was actually happy to see Anthony Gordon starting, even though that someone posted some sort of comparison, his minutes and then Rashford when he came on. But for me, that kind of comparison is not the right thing to do because Rashford came on, later on in the game. The opponents are tired by that time. It would have been a better comparison if, one played on the right, one on the left from the start. Then I get it. Um, but no, I think they're both top players, and I think we could be really happy that we've got players like that. Rashford's looking, but still Rashford is looking good. I think maybe if something didn't happen in that game for Anthony Gordon, for example, because for some reason I want to see a good performance from Anthony Gordon. I don't know why. It's just this. I've never been his biggest fan, but
Yep.
the last months for Newcastle, now he's got that move to Barcelona. I'm really wishing him a lot of well, and I hope because I think as many players that we have, on top form, because
Yep.
we might need these players. I know Harry Kane turned up yesterday with a couple of goals, but you never know what's going to happen in next games. Of course, we want him to keep scoring those goals because that might be their thing. As I've mentioned, certain players scoring goals, Mbappe, Haaland, Messi,
Yep.
Cristiano Ronaldo, he might come, he might start the next game for Portugal and get a couple. I know he's got his critics after this game, but you never know. He's still top player, obviously. And Harry Kane's going to want to be among those players. But what's important for Harry Kane, I'm sure, is for the team to win. And
Yep.
I am expecting a confident performance. I watched the highlights of the Ghana Panama game, and it gives me a lot of confidence because, and to be honest, Ghana were fortunate in that game. Panama, if they were more lethal, what's the word, with more composure
Yep.
and clinical, they
Yep.
could have got 3 or 4 goals in that game. Panama. They
Yep.
were on the front foot. The first part of that highlight was just seeing attacks by Panama. So in a way, I think Ghana can say that they were a bit fortunate to win that game. But of course, they won the game, which is good for them. But I believe that we're going to do what we need to do. I really believe that in this game we're going to win it, and then we might see a slightly different maybe lineup in the last game. But I do think we're going to win the next game.
Yeah, looking at last night's selection, I was a little bit, like I said, because I gave my opinion on who I thought would start. So seeing the back four start last night with James, Konza and Stones was in there with O'Reilly, I was honestly surprised, to be honest, that Stones started, knowing he hadn't played much football in the Premier League. And to be fair, I think he looked a bit, and I'm a big fan of his, I think he looked a little bit short. Obviously, changes were made at the end, and obviously he was replaced by Gay. But like I say, centre midfield was, what we expected, Anderson and Rice. And then that other big decision was Bellingham was selected ahead of Rodgers, which I'd predicted. But what I didn't get right, obviously got Kane starting, was the two wide players. I'd went with Rashford and Saka, who finished the game. But it started off with Maduaki and Gordon. And like you say, that was a bit of a surprise for me. But yeah, I think looking at the game last night, it was a game of two halves or four quarters, as we want to call it now. But it was a game of two halves, and we did have a good 10-minute spell in the first half. But overall, I was really disappointed. And like I said, I put stuff on social media, and I said we looked nervous. We couldn't maintain possession. I thought we were going to try and dominate possession, but we was happy to play on the counter attack. And as it worked out in the second half, things turned round. But I looked at the goals. Obviously, the penalty that we got, Maduaki done well. He's nipped in there and he's been clipped by Modric for a penalty, and that was a bit nerve-wracking. But like I say, the referee and the VAR got that spot on with um, what was his name, Vardiol getting in there, but the keeper was off his line as well, so that was retaken on two accounts. So to see Harry put that and dispatch that was made us feel good. But the disappointing thing was the first goal, and I'm watching it, and I've got a sort of good memory of what happened, and I posted straight on there that everyone talks about Anderson. I wasn't knocking him because I thought he had a good game. We played out, and he played a wafty little, tried to play a little ball round the corner, and it went up in the air, and then it was headed. I think it was Maduaki that tried to head the ball uh, to Rice, and it was intercepted, and that's when they sort of broke and scored. So there was a few things that could have happened before then that could have prevented it, and I even think that I don't know, it was Rice that was that the first goal or the second goal? No, the first goal was a little bit of loose play. We gave it away, and that was disappointing. But like I say, to get back in it and score the second goal, what a fantastic delivery by Rice from the corner. And Harry Kane's come in and he's finished it. Fantastic header. And I'm thinking, good. And I was just about to put on um, the social media, not the greatest of performance, but very sort of happy to go in 2-1. Just about to press the button to get it out as half time occurred. And then obviously we conceded that goal. And that was very, very disappointing goal to concede. I don't think we got out to the ball quick enough. Maybe Rice, and I even think that Pickford may have done a little bit better. So to go in at 2-2 was a real test. And I think, like you say, Thomas said his bit in no uncertain terms. And it's interesting to hear what come out after the game. And he said, look, if we're going to lose, we lose, but let's lose doing it our way. Because we did look a bit tentative. We looked a bit nervous, and I put those very words out that we need to be keeping the ball better and actually trying to maintain possession. And then what happened? 3 minutes after the break, we got, I think it was 23 passes. So we enticed them in, and it got played round the corner to our right-hand side. And then from there, Bellingham got played down that inside right channel, and he finished. So for me, took a bit of the pressure off. And then I'm thinking, right, I believe we need a fourth goal to kill it off, because whilst you're only one goal in front, remember I think you predicted 3-1. I was happy to be wrong and get 4-2. So when the game was at 3-2, I'm thinking we need to get another one. But we didn't look too much under threat. I think there was maybe an odd chance. And then that fourth goal was sort of, I think it was 5 minutes or 8 minutes before the end. So it was a great finish, great bit of vision to actually pick out Rashford, and he sort of shaped up to it with his left pig, and he chopped it back, and he just rolled it into the far post. So that was a great finish. So for me, it was a very, very nervy performance. But what was really strange for me, and I put it at the time, I'm thinking, you've got Mainu and you've got Henderson that would have been ideal to come in, but he's paid the big bucks, and put in Bellingham, and I said he can play as a 24, a 6, 8 or 10, and then he took Rice off and put him back in there. And then when he took him off, then obviously he put James from right back inside, and he put Spence on as a full back, and he brought Rodgers on. So there was kept the same shape, that 4-2-3-1. And I would be thinking today, if I was Manu and Henderson, why didn't I get that nod straight away to go on? But like I said, he's paid the big bucks, got a result, and happy to get a 4-2 win. And like you say, when we look back, whenever, we won't go, it wasn't the best performance. I mean, there's people that I see going, oh, it's our best performance for years, fans. And I'm thinking, they forgot, obviously, quite quickly what's going on in the first half. So the fans are very fickle. And I know that, if they see something great or something good, they'll go over the top. So we've got to be level-headed, keep our feet on the ground. And obviously that's going to make it exciting for our game, which I believe is next Tuesday against Panama, is it? So
Was it
yeah.
Ghana? Was it Ghana?
Oh, uh, let me check. I've got it all written down, all prepared. So yeah, our game is against Ghana, who beat Panama 1-0. So it's going to be interesting. But I think we'll go into that, and whoever wins that, and I think we'll win that by at least 2 clear goals, will go through as the group winners.
I'm confident. I'm confident. And one thing I will add to the game against Croatia, what I noticed was, which was a nice thing to see, that we addressed the situation that they put that Croatia were playing with a back three, and you could see those balls going out wide, so that our attacking players, Madueke, Gordon, they tried to take advantage of that. I think especially Madueke. So that was good, and I think that's going to come in handy. Against, for example, Panama, because I think Panama play with a back three as well. Ghana, I think they play with a back four, so that might pose a different type of test.
Yeah,
But as I said, I'm confident. I'm confident. Looking at the game yesterday, I know you've mentioned it. Maybe it wasn't the perfect performance, but we don't want it to be the perfect performance. It's the first game of the tournament. We want perfect performances later. We want them to become better and better and better. So this could be our worst performance. I'd welcome that. I want to see improvements from game to game. And maybe some of those players, that you mentioned, maybe Mainu, maybe Henderson, maybe they'll get their chance later on. Maybe it would have made a little bit of sense to at least, I don't know, maybe Mainu could have come on yesterday. But as you said, the result is the result, and that's the main thing. We won the game. We won the game against Croatia. Croatia are always a tough team to play. They can always, get goals, and they got goals. They created chances, they got goals, and so the fact that England, that we bounced back from, they scored before half time. We came back out, and scored almost, straight away from the restart. That shows character. That shows, it's not like, because a lot of teams, their heads could have just dropped. It's a different team talk. If it's
yeah.
2-1 at half time, and if it's 2-2, and in that manner. So, and I'm happy that Bellingham scored. I did predict Bellingham to get a goal. I just felt that he's going to get a goal for some reason this game with Harry Kane yet. But as I said, I thought it was going to be 3-1, but I welcome 4-2. I welcome any win. And let's just march on and look forward to the next game against Ghana. And I will ask you if you've got any thoughts to the game that was just played, and also if you could share your uh, predictions for the next game.
Well, let's go and talk about what you said. When you go in and you're a coach and you're a manager and you're going to go in 2-1, you've got your talk sort of ready. And I would imagine it would have been something like, hey, we've been sloppy. We've got to tighten this up at the back. Okay. Would have talking about being able to keep the ball better and being played forward when we had the opportunities. Because like he said, he was very disappointed with Rice going square and backwards. And I think it's very poignant when we had that half break, the water break, and it went on to Emma Hayes, and she talked about she got a bit of stick for it in England for whatever reasons, but she did get some stick where she said the most important player, instrumental player, is Pickford. And that sort of summed it up for me. That's because we kept going out the back and we wasn't playing forward. So going back to your half-time talk, you're ready. If I was Thomas, I'd be saying, "Oh, guys, we've got to be a lot better in the second half. We've got to be very mindful that we can't keep giving the ball away as cheaply, and we've got to get up the pitch, but we've got to keep it back at the back, and not take chances, but be nice and neat and tidy and crisp with our passing. And then I think if we keep the ball, then we'll be able to open up, particularly like say with him pace in the wide areas. So to go in at 2-2, he would have probably done his nut a little bit. And then, right, the first 15 minutes, we got to put a marker down. And like you say, it couldn't have gone better because within 3 minutes, like you say, Bellham's finished a great goal. But like, if you look at the goal and the number of passes, I think they said it was 23. I can't recall it being 23, but it was said afterwards. But I can remember it was some patient football at the back. We popped it around. It got a little bit nervy, if I'm honest. And I'm thinking we don't want a slippy or sloppy pass that's intercepted to give them a freebie. But no, overall, they did what they had to do. Coming on to the second part of your question was, what do I reckon? I think it will be at least a 2 goal margin. And if we can get off to a better start and we're more composed in possession, then, I think that the opponents might drop off and give us that little bit of respect. Then again, they might come out and play on the front foot and go at us. But like I say, we've still got to stay calm and show that same composure and, play our possession-based game. And we know once we get it up the pitch and get it particularly into those wide areas, then, whoever plays wide, whether it's Saka, Madueke, Gordon or Rashford, then I think that, we can hurt teams and we'll get in behind them. Let's just hope Harry Kane stays up the pitch. I know he did come deeper and he turned a few balls around the corner, hit some good balls. But yeah, I'm confident going into Tuesday and hopefully as well, big game, which we haven't mentioned yet, which is tomorrow night, Friday, is Scotland and Morocco. So let's give them a mention. And hopefully Scotland will be full of confidence and they can't play as poor as what they played last week. Really can't believe they could play as poor. So hopefully they'll play better and hopefully they'll get a result. But time will tell, and I look forward to the games that are coming up.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I did kind of blank that game, the Scotland game, but yeah, obviously, I want to also to see Scotland doing well, and hopefully they'll have a positive performance and a result. But it's going to be extremely difficult, tough tie for them. But as for England, I think if England play the way we can, if it's going to be a similar type of game from Ghana. I expect us to get goals. I think the amount of chances, and I said Panama had. I mean, a clinical team, they would have scored 4 or 5. I think so. I think we can get at least. I think we can. I think we can match it. I think we can get 4 goals. I really do. As long as we're clinical. If and also there's a thing that will there be any changes from the starting 11? Will for example Rashford start? That's the thing. He might be looking at this game. Maybe Rashford, getting that goal, being lively when he came on. It might have changed something. Maybe Saka. With Saka, I think it might have been a case of because I think towards the. I know he did play some games towards the end of the season, Saka, but he was injured. And I'm just wondering whether that has played a little part of it, and
Yeah,
also Madueke's been, to be honest, Madueke played well. So
yeah.
I wouldn't, I'd welcome it. I don't mind Saka coming off the bench.
I think I'm not concerned with the changes that they play up top and wide. I think at the back, I think that they'll definitely start with Esri, Konza, and Gay, and then James will be at right back. And obviously, we haven't mentioned about Livramento. I think he's had to go home because he's injured. So Riley last night missed a chance with his head, and we did miss a few chances. Gordon missed one as well with the head, but I'd be more concerned about what goes on at the back. And I think that the main thing will be that we can get a clean sheet. We want to win the game, obviously, but if we can get a clean sheet and sort of make us a little bit more solid at the back, and that will sort of make me feel happier. And I think that will be um, ultimate will be to win. But obviously, if we can keep a clean sheet and win by 2 clear goals, then I think that will be the sort of performance that Thomas will be looking for, and so will we as a nation.
I'm confident, as I said. I'm going a brave 4-0. I think we'll keep a clean sheet at the back. I think we've got goals, and if we get 4 goals, I think Harry Kane will at least score another 2 goals. And maybe some other players as well. Well, if we get 4 goals, someone else will have to score a goal. But anyway, Colin, that's about it for this episode. Thank you very much. Let's enjoy the World Cup as it's thanks to these videos, I'm getting more and more into this World Cup. I have to admit. And I hope everyone else is enjoying these videos. And yeah, let's enjoy the football. Take care.
All the best, guys. Thank you. Bye, guys.